My client wants to come forward to Congress. He's ready to be questioned about what he knows and what he experienced. Typical steps that a law enforcement investigator would take were compromised because of political considerations.
Now, this stems from the FBI's investigation into possible tax crimes related to a failure to disclose income from his business ventures. His whistleblower believes the investigation is now being impeded. In a statement, an attorney for Hunter Biden blasting the comments, quote, "It is a felony for an IRS agent to improperly disclose information about an ongoing tax investigation." Now, I want to be clear. I don't know how big a story this is yet, but it's real. It's a story to be taken seriously. And to their credit, oftentimes I don't give the media credit. To their credit, the media is doing that, including left-leaning outlets. This morning on CNN, Poppy Harlow confronted White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre about the whistleblower's claim.
An IRS supervisory special agent, our reporting is now claiming to have information about alleged mishandling and political interference in the ongoing criminal probe of Hunter Biden. That person is seeking whistleblower protection to share information with Congress, according to this letter obtained by CNN. Our Sarah Murray just gave our viewers that reporting, and I just wonder if the White House has a comment.
Well, right now, as you know, we've been very clear to not comment on anything related to any type of investigation. So that is something that we have been very, very diligent about.
Yes, very, very diligent. They've been very diligent about not commenting. But the media didn't let her off the hook. Multiple reporters confronted her later in the day at the White House press briefing.
Last question is, an IRS special agent wants whistleblower protection. Talk about an investigation of Hunter Biden's taxes. What is the White House's message to employees who wonder if there should be political considerations when things affect the president's family?
Just to be very clear, for the sake of transparency, which the president says he values, does the White House support giving this IRS agent whistleblower protection?
For the state of transparency, and so that we do not politicize any of this, the president has been very clear that this is something for the Department of Justice, which is independent, and we have been very clear since the campaign that this is something that they need to speak to, and that's why we refer you to the Department of Justice.
All right, look, they weren't going to get any answers, but they asked. And on some level, it feels like the media is learning from its mistakes of the past and not looking the other way on a story it ought to be covering. But this is also a single person making a claim. We know nothing about his motivation or his background. So with no evidence yet presented to back it up, it's certainly too soon to call it a bombshell, right? Well, except they did that every hour on Fox News.
Bombshell just dropped in the Hunter Biden tax investigation.
The bombshell allegations from an IRS whistleblower involving the handling of the investigation into Hunter Biden.
Bombshell new claims that the Biden administration obstructed the years-long and still ongoing investigation into the president's son Hunter Biden's related to tax fraud and gun ownership case.
Could be somewhere between a bombshell and a nothing burger. Could be a real story. Maybe we don't know enough yet. But joining us now is Colby Hall, NewsNation contributor, founding editor of Mediaite.com, which I founded. Colby, thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. What do you make of how the media has handled this story?
I think it's a good example. I mean, I think they've not at all surprised that the media has handled this well. And in fact, you know, you think about mainstream media, as we call it, they put out an unfathomable amount of content, 24/7, all these websites. The vast majority of it is responsible. And we call them out when they make mistakes, as they deserve to. But very often, they get things right. I'm reminded of NBA refs. They make 500 calls in a game. Most of those calls are good calls. They make one bad call, that makes the highlight.
But here, what is it about the media coverage of this Hunter Biden story that you think has been fair?
Well, I think that the CNN, the traditional outlets, like when it broke and I saw it on Fox News, I immediately thought, like, I wonder how this is being covered. I did a Google News search and I was kind of surprised that NBC, CBS, CNN, ABC, they all covered the least websites. MSNBC on their transcripts, I think it was only Katie Tur that covered it. So they may be lagging behind, but pretty much every outlet has covered this. And so, you know, I think they're reacting, they're a little bit under scrutiny and eager to cover Hunter Biden pretty aggressively.
Is there a heightened sensitivity, you think, on the part particularly of the left-leaning media on this?
Absolutely. I think, it's weird. Like big tech and Twitter kind of kept the Hunter Biden laptop story, and traditional media outlets were really slow to cover that. For good reason. They couldn't really get their hands on the laptop, and they didn't really know the provenance of that story was really, really sketchy. But of course, now we know that most of, if not all, that information proved to be true. And I think now journalists are so afraid to be labeled with liberal bias that they will jump, and they will get this story to prove that they are not biased. And I think poor Hunter Biden now is getting incredible scrutiny as a result of that.
Right, but thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.